Hi everyone, back in the shop today. I got a project today I did a couple weeks back. It involves 2 decks of cards. Now you're probably wondering what does cards have to do with woodworking, but I sit out here and I try to figure out what to make, and sometimes I come up with some pretty crazy ideas, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I decided to make a set of wooden playing cards. Now, being a woodworker, you got to have wooden playing cards. So I made these wooden playing cards, and you can see they are a deck of cards, and they're not hard to make. This right here, this stack right here, is 52 cards. Now, that is 52 cards, and this box right here holds 52 cards. So you can see there's quite a difference in size. These are made out of 1/8 inch Baltic birch. So they're not hard to make, and makes a good conversation piece. Somebody comes over, or somebody wants to play cards, pull these out, and got some wooden cards. So I'm going to move the camera, get things set up, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so got the table saw here. First thing you're going to need is a piece of 1/8 inch Baltic birch, and you're going to want to rip your Baltic birch into strips the exact width of your cards. You could go over just a little bit, not much, 1/16 to 1/64, 32nd of an inch more, but you want to keep it as even as possible to the card. So you just take and mark a line right there on your wood, and then I usually mark it right in the front right here so I can see. And what I'm going to do is line my saw, my fence, to cut that width of the card. Now, you might have to do this a couple times if you don't get it right. I would just cut one width first, then try it on your cards. You're going to end up sanding a little bit anyway, so you want to get it as close as possible to that. So we're going to try that for the width. And if you're making, I made 52 cards before. If you're going to make more cards, you need more 1/8 inch plywood. Cut some long strips, and do all 52 at once. Do all the strips, enough to do 52 cards. That way they're all going to be the same. So we'll cut this strip here and see how it all fits up. Okay, so here's your strip I cut. Here's the card, and what you want to do is make sure that card is pretty close to that edge. You can be over just a little bit. We're going to sand it. Once you got that, and you got all your strips cut, you're going to want to cut it to the length. So what I do, I have this little block here I made to fit perfect on my table saw fence right here, and it slides. Because you don't want to bind your card in between the fence and the table saw blade. So, and then I have my miter slide here. On mine, I got some sandpaper on this piece of wood here. That's going to help you so that card that doesn't slide on as you're cutting. And you're going to take your card and you're going to get the length of it measured up. Lay it on there. Get the length of it here measured up. Right like that. And then I take and I slide this up by my blade. And what I do is move my fence just so it's enough to make that cut. And I think that should be about right. So I got it set to the width. And then I can just take this and slide it back here. Now I know when I take this strip, and your strip might be longer because you're going to make more of these, You just put that strip up against your block here, and see right here, you don't have that tied up against the fence. You don't want that to bind in between your blade and your fence. So I'll just push it up against there, and that should cut that off. We'll take care of that. Okay, so you got your card and your block of wood right here. And that fits on there pretty good. Any other little bit you can sand off. It fits on there pretty good. Now you're going to want to do this 52 times, 54 if you're going to make 2 jokers. And like I say, these 2 jokers are going to go with that set that I made. So once you got that, we're going to head back over to the workbench, and I'll show you what we got to do next to finish this out. So hang on. Okay, at the workbench here, what I use to glue this card on the wood is Mod Podge. Now, Mod Podge is made for gluing paper on the wood, metal, all kinds of different surfaces. You might think, well, why don't I use wood glue or some other type of glue? Mod Podge is made for gluing paper on. Wood glue is not, and wood glue doesn't really dry clear. I haven't seen any that dried clear yet. And I did experiment with different types of glue on gluing these cards on. I had a spray adhesive one time. It was a permanent spray adhesive, and I tried it, and it was really messy. And one thing with Mod Podge, and I'll show you later, when you put it on, you have room to move that card. It's not like you put the glue on, now it sticks, and if you get it on crooked, you're kind of messed up. So I would stick with the Mod Podge, and this is just a plain matte Mod Podge. It's also a clear coat too, so you can actually put it on top after you get done with the card. So what I usually do, and to start out this, you just take your block of wood, and you're just going to pick and put some Mod Podge on here. Now you don't need a whole bunch of this stuff. It's a clear white. It looks, you can see the white, but it dries clear. But this is what's going to hold the card on. And try to get it right to the edge, like that. And then you got to remember too, when you're doing a deck of cards, that's why you need 2 decks of cards. You need 1 deck of cards for the back, 1 deck of cards for the face. So that's why you need to buy 2 decks of cards to make 1 wooden deck of cards. So the next thing, you put some Mod Podge on this part. We'll do the back first, so you put it on the face. You don't need a whole bunch, you just need to get the card wet with Mod Podge. Make sure you get it to the edge. Hopefully you can see this. And then what you're going to do is stick it on the card. Now, you can see here, I can move this around. So it's not going to stick right away to where you can't adjust it and move it. But I timed myself. It takes about 3.5 to 4 minutes to make this stick, because if it's on there now, if I was to take and just set this down and forget about it, these edges are going to peel up. It's not going to stick, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see it starting to come up. So you got to keep on pressing around the edge here, and some glue might come out. You want to get all the excess glue come out. You don't really have to worry about it bubbling up, because these cards are thicker than a normal piece of paper, so you don't have the bubble problem. But here after even a minute here, I can still move this card to adjust it. So that's what's nice about using Mod Podge, because it's made for this. And very strong once it dries. But you got to keep on moving this around and pushing down on the sides. Now I may say, okay, that looks good, and I set it aside, and I'll start another one. But I'll always go back and check this one, and you want to keep on going back and checking your cards. It helps if you got somebody else helping you, because you could hand this to the other person. My wife usually helps me, and then I can start another card, and we'll lay them all out. But we're constantly checking all the cards because it wants to tend to always pull up on the edges. Now this one looks pretty good, but see, you can see it came up right there a little bit. So you want to just keep on pushing it. When you think it's good, it may not be. You just want to keep on working it until it stays down on its own, because you don't want it to peel up. You don't want to set these aside and then come back the next day and you got half of them peeled up. You want these down before you quit for the day. So it takes about 3.5 to 4 minutes just to keep on pushing on the edge to get that. And I'm doing this in real time because I want to show you how long this actually takes. Because if you do 52 of these cards, it takes some time. I did them deck of cards over a week or so period. I would do one suit. Maybe I would do all the diamonds one day, and the next day I'd do the hearts. But it just takes some time because you want these cards to stick down. Now, like I said, I tried other types of glue, but I just got stuck with Mod Podge because that is what is supposed to be used for gluing paper down on wood. That it works great. It just takes a little longer for it to set. Now it don't look too bad, but it is still peeling up right there. So you just got to work at it until it stays down. That's why too, when you put this Mod Podge on with the brush, you want to make sure that you get enough on the edge. And it looks like it's sticking down pretty good. Probably at about 3 minutes right now. But once it's stuck down there, it's going to stay. These cards, it's been a couple weeks I've had these and I've never had a problem with it. You just want to, you may have to, if you find an area that you might have to stick a little more Mod Podge in there, you can add a little bit more in there and hold it down. This don't look too bad. And then what I usually do is if I do a bunch of these, I'll let them sit overnight. I won't do the sanding process until the next day. But this ain't too bad. Now I'm going to do this back side here. Now I normally wouldn't, but because of this video, I'm going to do this back side here. So we can show you the complete card. You don't need a whole bunch on, but you need at least get it wet. Now this side we put the face, the back of the card. So now this one we're going to put the face. So you're going to want to put the Mod Podge on the other side of the card. So you don't want to mix that up because you only got just enough cards to do one deck, unless you buy more cards. So now we'll do the face. Just wipe off any glue that might come off. And like I say, you got time to move it around. That's why I want to do this video in real time and show you just how long it takes to get these cards to stick. Just to show you the time it takes. Now, I guess if you come up with a better way than what I'm doing it, that'll work too. But this is the way I do it, and seems to work. And you double check the back side a little bit. You're constantly checking it, making sure it's going to stay down in place. Now here, I can still move it a little bit, so that's what's nice about Mod Podge, is you can move it around. And I'm just overhanging just a little bit, so that little bit ain't going to hurt. By the time you sand this card, and I'll show you that next. You can see it's coming up just a little bit right there yet. You just got to keep working at it. It'll stay down eventually. It's time consuming. That's why it took me a couple weeks to make one deck, because I didn't do it all at once. I just did a couple cards each day, or one suit each day. In between all the other woodworking projects I do. So just keep on working at that, and it'll eventually all stay down. Eventually it'll get to a point where you can't move it, so that's a good sign. Okay, so I think we got it. And I don't know how long it's been, but and remember too, when you buy your decks of cards, you got blue ones and you got red ones or whatever. Just make sure you keep them the same as you're doing it. Okay, so we're going to let that sit just for a little while. I think I pretty much got it. It's not coming up anymore. But this is what I was telling you. You got to stay at this until this stays down. You don't want these edges to pop up. They will stay down eventually. You have to be patient and just work at it. Because if you just set this down and forget about it, it could creep up, and now you got a problem with the card. So just stay at it, and it'll stay down. So I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back and finish it up. Okay, so the card has been dried here for a while. Everything looks good at it. When you cut your blocks of wood, obviously they're going to have square corners off your table saw. And but you don't want square cards. A real deck of cards have the rounded corners. You want them to make them look like cards as much as possible. So I just use my 1-inch belt sander here to round these edges. Maybe do a little sanding here if I need to make it a little smoother. You could get away with just a block sander or by hand if you wanted to, if you don't have a belt sander, or a disc sander would work. I have this belt sander, just handy to use it that way. So I'll just sand this off here and show you what we got to do. So you're just basically sanding off the corners, making it round, make it look like a regular card. So that's basically all you got to do. So then you are pretty much done with the card. So that should be about it. Okay, so you have 52 cards made, 54 with 2 jokers. Remember, you need 2 decks of cards, some Mod Podge, and 1/8 inch plywood. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit the bell. I got more videos coming. Could be some other crazy project that I got going on. So invite your friends over to play cards. Pull out your wooden cards. I'm sure they're going to have something to say about it. You'll probably be the only one on the block's got a set of wooden cards. So it wasn't all a woodworking project, but it was involved a little bit of wood. So until next time, work safe, and see you next time.